Hello, welcome to Bottom of the Stream.
Ahoy!
Hello, I am Adam, this is Nick.
I'm going to say ahoy because we're like the captains navigating the boat down the stream.
Okay, two captains on a stream boat, apparently that's what we are. Because you see lots of boats on streams. Basically, we've started this podcast to look at the things that people don't talk about on Netflix. It's the stuff at the bottom, basically. Is that what we're saying?
That is what we're saying, yeah.
We're calling it the bottom of the stream because Netflix is a stream and things go at the bottom of it.
We will see if we can find any diamonds or any gems.
No, you find gold in a stream.
Oh, do you? Not diamonds.
No, diamonds.
I don't know stones. I'm not a
We're panning
geologist.
for Netflix gold.
Yes,
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
The idea is that we'll watch a film every week. We will review that film the following week on the podcast and see what we think of it. It is going to be films. We're not going to do TV shows, are we? That's ludicrous.
I don't think so, because all you could really do is a couple of episodes.
Yeah. And I really don't want to watch 11 episodes of a terrible TV show.
I don't think that would make a great podcast.
No, I agree. So we're going to stick with films. It's going to be films that Netflix are not tweeting about, things that they're not advertising that are on there, things that people are not talking about. The little hidden beauties at the bottom of the stream. I've said it again. I like the name of the podcast. I don't know if anybody's noticed. Oh, Twitter. We haven't talked about Twitter. Let's talk about Twitter. We've got a Twitter at BOTS_podcast. BOTS stands for bottom of the stream. I've said it again.
Bots.
Bots_podcast.
Seamless.
Yes, I thought so. Shall we get on with it?
Yeah, tweet us. Let us know what you think.
Follow us.
If you've seen these films.
Watch these films. If
Get
you've not watched the film we're going to talk about this week, stop listening to the podcast, watch the film, then tweet us. After you've listened to the rest of the podcast. Let's get on with it. Okay, so the film we've chosen to review this time is The Open House. It's a Netflix original film and is currently rated as the worst film on Netflix. IMDb also have it at 3.3 out of 10. It stars Dylan Minnette as Logan Wallace and Piercy Dalton as his mother, Naomi.
So, what else would we know Dylan Minnette from? He's quite
He's
thing, isn't he?
He's in this, which is the lowest rated film on Netflix, and he's in 13 Reasons Why, which is one of the highest rated TV shows on Netflix.
Oh,
So
excellent. I recognise him from Goosebumps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in
the
that.
Jack Black movie, which came out a couple of years ago.
I've seen that as well.
I don't know if he was in the sequel, which came out
There's a
last
sequel?
year. Yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
sequel that came out last Halloween. But he was pretty good in that. Actually, that wasn't a bad film. So.
He's really good in 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah.
But give me a one-word review of The Open House.
Messy.
I would go with atrocious. We started this podcast to look at things that are at the bottom of the stream, at the bottom of Netflix, and this completely deserves to be there for me.
It's not got a lot going for it, I think it would be fair to say. So, what's the synopsis? What's the basic
The basis
outline
of the
this
film is that Dylan Minnette is a runner, I guess, and his dad dies at the beginning.
Oh.
Oh, there will be spoilers. I've just spoiled.
I don't think it counts as a spoiler if it
happens in the first 10 minutes of the film.
Well, the film's been out for 2 years, so I don't think we
true.
can call it a
And
spoiler.
the whole film wouldn't happen if it didn't happen. So, and basically, him and his mum moved to this house that is up for sale out in the middle of nowhere, and
Shit goes down.
shit goes down.
I had a lot of questions all the way through this film, and it did start with the couple of scenes. Dylan Minnette's character, who is Logan, and his parents. I was really confused why they were having breakfast for dinner.
I noticed that as well. Did you notice that it was like they were out running and it was light, and then they were not and it was dark, and then it was light again?
The mum actually says, we're having breakfast for dinner.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Otherwise known as Brinner.
Brinner. I do like a Brinner.
Bold move. So, Logan, him and his dad have to go out to get the milk, don't they? Because they're short of milk.
Yeah.
And it's a fateful trip to the supermarket. And so...
As they always are.
Logan stays in the car and his dad goes and gets the milk. And on his way back to the car is the victim of a hit and run.
Yeah, I guess you'd call it a hit and run.
But this is my first question because I was very confused and the film in no way explained if this was an accident and he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time or it was something deliberate because it was quite sinister.
It was. In a very creepy, sinister film. It was probably the most sinister thing in it.
It probably was, yeah. And that kind of set the tone for me for the rest of it. I had no idea what was going on here.
No.
I think it was just supposed to be portrayed as an accident in the car park of this.
I think you're right. I think it was taken as an accident, but I didn't. Yeah.
It was very strange.
It was very strange. There was no explanation. There was no follow up to it. It was just, oh, your dad's dead. We're going to move away.
Yeah.
To this creepy house in the middle of nowhere.
Yes. With
a creepy neighbour who may or may not have a husband. You never find out.
Yeah. We can get to that. Yeah. So Logan doesn't want to move. He wants to stay, where his home is with his friends and everything, I suppose. So he reluctantly gets dragged along, doesn't he?
Yeah.
To this house. Is it their auntie's house or their auntie's trying to sell?
His mum's sister's house.
Yeah. That's a nice house.
Oh, it was a beautiful house. It was absolutely beautiful house.
In the woods in the middle of nowhere. It's a lovely mansion. It's a mansion, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it is. This film is slow. It's like nothing happens for the first, apart from his dad dying. After that, you're talking 45 minutes before anything even remotely interesting happens.
Yeah, and it's not a long film.
It's only an hour and a half. 1 hour and 34 minutes.
And I'll talk about that in a bit, but I did kind of keep waiting for the point where it would click and get into the next gear. And I was still waiting for that by the time the credits rolled. Yeah,
because it never did. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it was odd. And you kind of used to your typical structure with a horror film like this. So you build the tension until you get to the climax and everything kicks off, and it just did not happen.
No, it didn't at all.
It was full of tropes and cliches, and we'll come to that. So they move to this house, and one of the first people they meet, even before they get to the house, actually, because they stop, don't they, at another supermarket. This time, no one dies.
But they do buy more milk.
They do buy more milk. The local store, and they meet their neighbour.
Yeah, who just happens to be there as well.
And I think right from the start, she is a bit of a red herring. She'll pop up again later.
Completely.
She's the source of a couple of jump scares, isn't she, in this film?
Strangely, though, she's probably the best thing about it. She's the only one with any sort of character depth. Although it never goes anywhere. They don't explore who she is or why she is or how she is or how she is how she is.
So they arrive at the house and, it's sort of clarified that they're free to stay in this house apart from on Sundays between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m, is it? Because they're having an open house.
Hence the name of the film.
So the estate agents, if anyone's not sure of the concept of an open house, they open up the house for all to come and have a look around it, and so they have to clear out the house. So that's your basic premise, isn't it?
Yeah, that is. But then that happens twice in the film, I think, where they have to leave the house. Nothing happens during while they've left the house. They're out of the house. They go back to the house. Nothing's changed in the house. The whole concept of the open house is redundant in the film for me.
There's one point, I think it's just after they've got back from the first open house session, so they have to leave the house. They come back from their day away, And there's a couple more jump scares where the estate agents are packing up and leaving, aren't they? So there's
he's still
the
in the
doors
house.
creaking. You've got someone, you know that someone's lurking around. And so Dylan Minette's character actually says to his mother in this, isn't the concept of an open house a bit scary? You open the doors and anyone could turn up. And it feels like that one line of dialogue was the basis of a conversation that started this whole
I think you're
shit
probably
show
right.
of a
I
film
think
getting made.
Somebody actually said that to the guy who wrote the film, and he thought, that's a really good idea. I'll write a really terrible film about this.
So they come back. They come back from this first open house session, and it's at this point where strange things start happening. Whilst
I think you can call them strange.
So do you want to just run through a couple of the tropes that we start seeing?
The phone starts ringing and there's nobody there. A couple of times.
Yeah. There's a lot of creaking doors.
There's lots of creaking doors. Does the dinner table get set one day?
That's a bit later on.
Is that a bit later on?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
I've tried to blank this film out of my mind, if I'm honest.
There's a lot of thudding coming from the basement.
Yeah, the basement's flooding. Why in Hollywood does nobody ever have a working light in a basement? Why?
This is a really good point. So
the light doesn't work. She gets trapped in the basement at least twice. She thinks Dylan's trapping her in the basement, which he isn't. But at no point does she think, I'm going to get the light fixed.
No, so there's a
have to buy a bulb.
Yeah, there's a whole plot point here about one of these jump scares that keeps happening is so Dylan's mother is Naomi is the character.
Yes, I think so.
So she takes a lot of showers in this film.
She does. That is true.
Every time she's in the shower, the pilot light in the boiler goes out.
Yeah. So
the water turns cold, which means she has to go down to the basement just in a towel to try and reset the pilot light. And this film is only, as we said, an hour and a half long, so 90 minutes. I reckon there is at least 5 minutes of just someone trying to turn a pilot light on.
Yeah, definitely.
It's either the mother,
yes,
Logan, Dylan Minette's character, or the guy who comes to fix the boiler.
Yeah.
That's 5 minutes of a 90-minute film. So it's over 5% of the film is just someone trying to turn a pilot light
in
on.
slow motion, a nice effect of a knob being turned.
So that's kind of what we're dealing with here.
Yeah, this is the sort of film we're dealing with.
And as Ad says, this film tries to introduce a bit of tension in that obviously we've got a strained relationship here between a mother and a son because they've been affected by this horrible event that's happened to them. And you've got a moody teenager who doesn't like his mother anyway, and then she's starting to believe he's doing these strange things like turning a pilot light off, banging around,
losing his own phone.
Yes, he loses his own phone, so he can't find that.
But she thinks that that's him trying to get to her, freak her out by losing his own phone. I couldn't get my head around that bit. I couldn't get my head around it.
And it never comes across as it just doesn't work. It just does not
really
work.
Doesn't.
And this, do you know what really annoyed me about this, which I couldn't get over, is all these things happen. There's one point where where Logan makes a bowl of cereal, he puts it down in the living room, eats a couple of spoonfuls of it, then there's a noise, he goes and checks it out, he comes back, his cereal bowl's not there. At no point does he mention this to his mother. Although they go and check the pilot light separately, they never go together.
Yeah.
And then she comes back up and says, did you shut the door while I was down in the basement? And he's just sitting there on his bed. Yeah. They don't talk to each other.
They don't at all.
These characters do not act. I'm not expecting like Shakespearean levels of quality or documentary levels of
I know exactly what you mean.
But it's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I mean, there's no chemistry between them at all. They're basically an actor and an actress together in a film that you would not.
I'm not sure they're in the same film.
No, definitely not. They're definitely not pretending to be related in any way. They're just two people living together.
I know one of the other things that strange things that happens is she sleeps with a photo, doesn't she, under her pillow of her son and the dead husband, and that gets screwed up, and found later on, which again she accuses Logan of doing, doesn't she?
There is one point in this film where I was genuinely creeped out, and that is when she's in bed and somebody gets in bed next to her, and the fact that she hadn't noticed, and she gets up, she goes to the toilet, goes back into the bed, that genuinely got me. I was like, that's creepy.
Yeah, I'll probably give you that.
It lasts for about a minute in the film, and it is the only redeeming feature in the film. But yeah, that bit for me was the redeeming feature of the film. That bit was creepy.
So and that is, although it becomes blatantly obvious as this film goes on, but that is the turning point at which you realise someone has snuck into this house in the open house and has been hiding there for the previous couple of days. It
was at that point where I thought, oh, shit's going to go down now. Somebody's here, we're going to find out what's going on.
And in, well, I was going to say it gets gruesome. It doesn't get gruesome, no. but this guy has come into the house, and he kills a guy called Chris who's come to stay with them. Yeah, who they've met in the he's another red herring in the film, basically. So he's a local townsperson,
shopkeeper.
That's right. Who kind of, again, they try to build the tension by giving him a bit of a creepy vibe. Is he hitting on this newly single mother? Or is he just acting out the goodness of his heart? He's the only person that these two people know locally, and they say come and stay with us for the evening because they're a bit creeped out after, as I'd said earlier, they get back from the time they've been out for the second open house, and the table's set for 3 people. Which again I think was supposed to be creepy, but it just looked like they were going to have a nice dinner. So the person who's been hiding in the house, he deals with Chris, doesn't he? Drags him outside. I presume he's sat in the car with his throat slit.
Yeah, slits his throat.
Despite the fact last time we saw him, he was asleep on the sofa.
He wakes up with a slit throat in the car. He didn't wake up, he's dead. But it turns out to be with his throat slit in the car.
So whether he was dragged out there, or I don't know.
Nobody knows. I imagine even the guy who plays Chris doesn't know.
No, probably not. And then having dealt with Chris, this assailant, as I'd says, gets into bed with the mother.
Yep.
And
that was after, you're right.
He places some photos down, doesn't he, on the table next to her.
Yep.
And unbeknownst to me, I have no idea why, but after she's got out of bed, got back into bed, she notices these photos, opens them up, starts to look through them, and
this is like the middle of the night.
Yeah, some of the photos are the ones that she's taken.
Yeah,
and then flicks through a couple more, and there's photos of her, obviously taken by someone else. There's photos of Logan, obviously taken by someone else. At which point she rolls over, expecting that Logan's next to her in bed because.
That's what you do with your mum when you're a teenager.
Well, yeah. To be fair, they did. He did say, "I'm gonna
share a room."
Because we're a bit.
Because this house is creepy.
And obviously, it's the
assailant.
Have I said the wrong word? Giving something away.
Well, no, you did just say that Chris's throat got slit.
That's true.
He is a murderer.
He ties up Naomi.
Yeah.
Logan goes out because he notices the car with its hazards on and its full beams on. Finds Chris. He then gets a whack on the head from the assailant, and he pours. At first, I thought it was petrol.
Yeah, I thought he was pouring petrol on him,
but I think it was just water because it's cold. It's winter.
Supposed to be cold. I didn't get that until he came in shivering.
Yeah,
I didn't get what was going on there. It didn't appear to be cold in any of the previous scenes in the film.
And having cut one person's throat, the fully grown, reasonably muscular Chris, he then just leaves our...
Yeah, he thinks, I've cut this guy's throat, I'm just going to leave this one to freeze to death.
Yeah, leaves him for dead. He goes back up, he in what is probably the most gruesome scene, breaks all the fingers.
Oh no, that was
of the
horrible.
mother.
I'd forgotten about that. That
Quite
was
slowly
horrible.
and deliberately.
And really graphically.
Yeah.
That was like something out of a Hostel film. That was.
Which again, it was.
If you get all the way to that
it was a
point,
gruesome moment. It was tonally a real shift from the rest of them.
It was.
And that's kind of why I said I felt this film to be messy. It lurched all over the place in terms of...
It really did.
The tone of it was all over the place. It was one thing, literally, from 5 minutes to the next 5 minutes.
You didn't see Chris get his throat slit. He leaves him to freeze to death. And then you get in this probably 3 minute scene of graphic finger breaking.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I didn't know. I had to look away at that point.
I don't know if there's something... maybe I'm thinking about this too much, but
we're probably thinking about it more than anybody who made it did.
I just felt that it was worth mentioning that all the violence against the males happened off camera. Yeah. We had to watch this scene where he quite gruesomely did this stuff to the lone woman in this film. Yes. I was not really very comfortable with that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was like, it felt dated at that point.
But it was made in 2018.
But it was made it was released in 2018. It was probably filmed earlier than that.
Logan comes round, shivering, as you say, comes into the house. Eventually, there's a bit of a sort of, I was going to say a chase, but there's very much no running involved.
Slow amble.
Yeah, trying to track where this assailant is with his mother. They basically all converge back in this basement again, aren't we? Yeah,
we're back in the basement.
And then his mother, basically meets an untimely end, doesn't she?
She does. She is killed somehow. Because there's a sort of random labyrinth in their basement as well, which is all like small corridors and random nooks and crannies.
Yes. So at first, when they're back earlier in the film where they're exploring, I kind of thought they were going for a secret passage thing, and your mind sort of plays ahead, and I was thinking, well, maybe that's how someone gets in. But then it turned at this point when there wasn't a secret passage at all, it was basically they were all just cornered in a corner of the basement.
Yeah, it's like a weird, small, thin corridor.
Preconceptions going in, I kind of thought, oh well, it's an open house. It's a huge house. It could almost be a character.
Yeah.
There's loads of things you could do with this.
Yeah, you've seen
all these
like
nooks and crannies and that atmosphere. You can really play on that if you want to, and just none of that.
No, none of it.
None of that was played out or came across at all.
No.
So the mother is killed.
Yeah.
And we're left with Dylan and our assailant.
Yeah.
There's one other bit which I did find mildly creepy.
Go on.
So I do have to wear glasses.
Okay.
And I have at one point worn contact lenses. So Dylan in this film, he does the same. He takes his glasses off before bed, puts them on his bedside table like most of us do. They're not there, are they? A couple of times, and he's stumbling around. I think this is after he's already had the water splashed on him. So we're about this timeline where it's just him and
you're about the right place. Yeah.
The guy gets on top of him. I can't remember if he gives him another whack on the head or not. Leans over, pinches his contact lenses out of his eyes.
Yeah.
I quite like that because he's obviously disorientating the kid.
He must know him well enough to know that he can't see without them. So
and at this point, he's like, "Oh, he's just playing a game." So, but he's dealt with Chris quite quickly. The mother reasonably quickly, although he did do that horrible torturing.
Yeah,
and now he's going to try and have his way.
His second slow, lingering torture of Logan.
I'm not very good with eyes, so it
was horrible.
It
was horrible. I'd forgotten all about that, and it was probably more creepy than the finger breaking thing.
Yeah. So Dylan kind of escapes, doesn't he?
He escapes
out into the.
He can't see where he's going. It's cold.
He's bumbling
wet.
Around.
His mum's just died. His mate's just died.
His dad's already dead. It's not going well for him. He doesn't want to be there anyway.
He definitely doesn't have a good time in this film.
So he stumbles around. Gets a bit of distance between him and his pursuer, and he sort of hunkers down, doesn't he, behind a wall out in the woods, and we hear some footsteps.
Yeah.
And you think, well, this guy's he's caught up with them. What's going to happen? You know, Dylan's probably going to have his revenge and you know, get his own back. He's going to escape.
Yeah.
And
The good guy always wins.
it's not the assailant who comes bumbling past. It's our neighbour Martha, who they met at the supermarket at the start of the film.
Yeah.
She literally wanders into the shop, has a look around. She's on a walk for the evening. Wanders off.
That's the last you see of her.
Yeah.
Don't see her again.
Dylan gets back up, carries on running.
Doesn't call for help.
No, he doesn't say to her,
"Help me! My mum's just been murdered. Chris from the shop's just been murdered. You're probably going to be next. You're the only other person who's been in this film,
yeah.
apart from the two people that are already dead and me."
He makes it down to a riverbank, doesn't he?
Yeah, is
he hit or does he pass out? I can't remember.
I think he passes out.
Either way, he comes round, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And we just see a pair of feet.
Yeah.
Black boots, big black boots. And it's not immediately clear if this is the guy who's hunting him down or another.
It's got to be the guy. There's not another creepy man in black boots running around the woods.
Or someone who may be able to help him. And then it fades out.
You get a shot of him lying still after this.
I think it fades back in.
Does it fade back in?
And there is Dylan's frozen body.
Yeah, he's dead as well.
He is dead.
They're all dead.
Everyone is dead.
And then you get a shot of a car driving towards an open house sign. And then you scream at your own TV.
Turns left. Goes towards the open house.
Fade to black.
And that is
End credits. What the actual fuck? There's no ending to this film at all. There's no explanation to what it is.
Who this guy was.
Who the neighbour was. Nothing. I've literally written on my notes, what the actual fuck at the end of that, because it doesn't go anywhere. It never tried to go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere and it doesn't end. There's no end. It's like we've run out of money now. We're just going to put the credits here.
The fact that this it just turned out that this murderer was just a random person. No motivation other than he is a horrible
murdering psycho.
Murderer who is also interested in property. Yeah, I mean, it was
atrocious, to go back to my word.
It was a film.
It was a film. It was an hour and a half out of my life that I'm never getting back. I don't want to do any sort of rating system, but I can't see anything being worse. I really can't. This film there's a website out there that rates Netflix films, and this is rated as the lowest film on Netflix.
From users?
From users, yeah. I presume so, yeah. And quite rightly. I mean, there's not many redeeming features to this film.
I mean, that was going to be my challenge to you. Could you say anything positive? Is there a silver lining or a glimmer in there at all?
No. The woman who played the neighbour is a good actress. She played it creepy well. That's my only redeeming feature. I mean, she's not in it much, and her character goes nowhere, but she's quite good at what she does.
So I think the most positive thing I could say is that I didn't think Dylan Minnette was too bad.
He's a good actor. He's been in many good things.
He had This was a garbage script. This was terribly directed.
Yeah.
It had, like I said, no tension, nothing going for it in even cinematography. It didn't. We could have had sweeping shots of these woodlands.
It's supposed to be cold out there. Do some nice snow scenes.
Yeah, we could have had all this atmosphere. Yeah. And there was nothing of that. But my silver line would be he did all right with what he had to do. Yeah. With what he had.
Have you seen 13 Reasons Why?
No, I haven't.
He's really good in that. I mean, that's a really good show, and he is really good in it. And I presume he made this before 13 Reasons Why it came about, because I don't imagine he needs to be doing it now.
That's probably a fair assessment.
I mean, if he hasn't and he's just a really bad judge of scripts, then 13 Reasons Why is a fluke, then fair play. But
I told you, it was alright in Goosebumps. That was a fun film. But this was just mind-boggling. That I kept waiting for the reveal. What's the connection? Who is this guy? Why is he interested in this? And it was just there was nothing there. There was no content here. It was.
I don't know. Do Netflix commission a film and then get it made, or do they find a film and buy it? And has somebody at Netflix watched this and thought, we'll buy that, it's really good? Or have they just thrown some money at a director and gone, I don't know. I don't know how Netflix works.
I think they do a bit of both. So, I mean, I should probably fact check that before I make a commitment. But
why this film is on Netflix is beyond me.
I would imagine they do both.
Yeah,
as in they buy and distribute things that have already been made. Plus, obviously, they approve and bankroll stuff that comes to them.
How this has got through any sort of quality filter, I don't know. I really don't.
I'm really excited to see what else we can find.
Yeah,
and in future episodes, and I think we've got a benchmark. That's a positive.
One final question: is there anybody that you know that you think you would recommend this film to?
So before I answer that, I think I'm going to say, bizarrely, I don't know if it's because I was doing it with this podcast in mind, but I don't know if I could say that I hated this film.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I could say I didn't enjoy watching it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can get that. There's films out there that
terrible
are terrible,
film.
but
it's harmless enough, I guess.
I would agree with that right up until the end, but because the film has no ending, it killed me. It destroyed me that I'd wasted an hour and a half on it. Because up until that point, yeah, I see what you're saying. It's got its charms and its little foibles, but no. There just isn't. I just cannot understand why this film doesn't have an ending.
No, I couldn't. I wouldn't recommend it. Not as a. I can't think of anyone who would get much out of it.
No, not me.
I wouldn't have watched this. I wouldn't have picked this out of my list to watch.
No.
Or if I was just browsing through, I don't think.
No, I agree.
And even if I had, because I was drunk, or something, I wouldn't have got past half an hour, probably, maybe not even that far.
No. I don't think I would pick it up to watch it. Synopsis doesn't appeal to me at all. I mean, I love a horror film and I love a cheesy B-movie.
Yeah, I see. I was going to say that because you're much more inclined to
just pick a random...
put up with more from a horror film than I am.
Yeah, I love my cheesy crap horror films and my B-movies and my straight-to-TV movies, but they have their, like you're saying, a charm to them. But
you can have a good shit film, and this
you can have a good shit film, and this is a shit film.
Yeah.
But that's how I'd describe it. It's a shit film. Don't watch it. It's at the bottom of the stream for a reason. Leave it there. That's all I'm saying. Just leave it there. Do not watch The Open House on Netflix.
Well, we dwell at the bottom of a stream for a reason, so we'll.
Yeah, we do.
I'm hoping we can find a couple of diamonds.
We started doing this because we wanted to find some little hidden gems on Netflix. I'm sure we will as we go through. I'm sure we'll find some great little hidden things on Netflix, but this isn't one of them, and don't watch it.
The bad ones may make better entertainment and better episodes for people to listen to, but we'll see. We'll see.
So, on that note, do you think we should pick next week's film?
I think that would be good. So, how are we going to do this?
So, what we've done, what I've done is we've made a list on Netflix, as you can. You can make your own list of films. I'm sure all the people listening will know that. I've written them all down. Let me just grab my box.
So this is just a list of things that have taken our fancy as we've been...
Yeah, I mean, watching. The whole idea of the bottom of the stream is stuff that isn't advertised by Netflix. It isn't talked about on Twitter. It isn't... All these films are at the bottom of the stream. So there's currently 11 films in this box. We're going to keep adding to it as we go.
There's no Bird Box or...
There's no Bird Box.
Anything like that in there.
No, there's no Mowgli or the Christmas Chronicles or anything like that. These are all hidden right down at the bottom of the stream. There's some papers here. So would you like to do the honours and pick next week's film for us to watch and hopefully enjoy?
I'd love to delve into your box.
Delve into my box, Nicholas.
I have selected
I'm going to look it up live so we can get a synopsis.
I think the only one that I added to this list.
And the one I really want to watch. What have you picked?
Bait.
Bait. What is Bait? Okay. So you have selected Bait.
I have.
from the
my
box.
sins.
So I've just logged into my Netflix account. Obviously, we've set up a account for Bottom of the Stream on Netflix. So it picks, because we've added stuff to the list, it picks a match for what it thinks you will enjoy. This has picked a 96% match.
Wow, what could possibly go wrong?
We're going to 96%. That's basically Netflix saying this is 96% at the bottom of the stream, as far as I can see. It's from 2012. It isn't a Netflix original. It's a film starring Xavier Samuel, Julian McMahon.
He's a proper actor.
I'm seeing Nip Tuck.
He was, yeah. He was Doctor Doom in the rubbish Fantastic Four films.
Oh, okay. And Shani Vincent. Directed by Kimball Rendell. There's a 15, some for 2 minutes less than the open house.
Okay.
1 hour and 32 minutes. And is described as tsunami survivors trapped in a submerged... That's like a tongue twister. Tsunami survivors trapped in a submerged grocery store discover a threat worse than drowning. Bloodthirsty sharks lurk in the water.
Excellent.
Sharks in a grocery store. I'm up for that.
Like The Mist with sharks.
I'm up for that. So if you want to watch that, go ahead and watch it, and we will be back next week to discuss it. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Bye.